Welcome everyone to the Center for Mindful Eating. My name is Migrit Fletcher, and I want to welcome you to today's live presentation, Mindful Eating Around the World, Celebrating the Joy of Eating. Thanks for There you go. We can hear you now.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
So,
I'm Migrit.
hi. So tell us a little bit about you and what gets you so excited about mindful eating. Please share.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Cinzia, and I am a clinical psychologist by background and a mindfulness teacher. I was born in Italy, but I'm lucky enough to work and live in the UK. So I teach at Hertfordshire University, and well, my passion for mindful eating is really linked to, like, for personal reasons. I used to be a professional athlete for 15 years, and I used to play volleyball professionally in Italy. So during that time, I always had to eat in a prescribed way. So I had to eat in a way that would maximize my performance. So it was plenty of, this is a bad food, you should not eat that, or avoid something else. It was really, really hard. And I felt always different from my friends to start with. And also when I stopped playing and I moved to the UK in 2007, I'm surprised because there wasn't a nutritionist or a personal trainer just telling me what to do. So I realized that I was not connected to my body, even though I was using the body a lot in the years before. So I came across mindful eating, and the most beautiful thing that happened was that I started to trust my body again. It took a bit of time, but that's where my passion comes from. Also, in 2007, I also was working as a researcher, so it was my first project when I moved, and we looked at how mindfulness would affect people with eating disorders. So yeah, that's where it all started, and my passion nowadays is really to help people with disordered eating or eating disorder to recover through mindful eating.
And tell me now, I know that you work a lot with CBT, just so tell people what that is and how exactly, or what do you think it might be that would allow mindful eating to help people with disordered eating patterns?
Well, I just finished a master's on CBT, and my research project was around how to integrate some elements of mindful eating in a CBT protocol for binge eating disorders.
So Cinzia, what does CBT stand for? Because I think a lot of people may not know.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's cognitive behavioral therapy. So we look at how cognitions and affect the way in which we feel and behave. So it is an evidence-based type therapy. However, I think that is too cognitive. Something is missing. As we are working with people with eating disorders and people with issues that really affect the body, I try to introduce elements of the so-called inner wisdom. So introducing awareness of the self-regulating mechanisms of the body, like satiety or hunger and fullness, So I'm working on that.
That is exciting. And so with this integration of the wisdom, this inner wisdom that you talked about, tell us a little bit more about this little inner wisdom, because I think many people, when we think about changing our food and eating, they're used to hearing more of a critical voice, maybe one that's a little bit hard to hear. And sometimes that critical voice can be so common, it's almost like we become deaf to it. So I'd love to learn more. How do I get that that wise, gentle, kind voice to come on in when in fact I'm used to hearing maybe more of a critical, cynical, harsher voice?
Oh, that's a great question. It would be nice to have an answer that works for everybody to start with, but let's say that what we try to do is, in a way, to shift from trying to control the body as a start, and so part of the inner wisdom is to connect with the actual self-regulating signals that the body will send us normally, and self-compassion is a key element of inner wisdom. So knowing and realizing the common humanity of most people basically I work with do it because they're trying to sedate their emotions through food. So as a response to negative emotional states. Am I still there?
You are. You're still there. You're still going strong.
Okay. My screen has gone dark. Sorry. So what we try to do is to listen to the critical voice, first of all, and to accept that it's normal to feel in that way. We live in this society that's it's kind of it's in our files, in our brain files. That's how I describe it. So first of all, is accepting that the struggle is there and it's human to feel like that. And slowly, by letting go of that tendency to react. So we bring mindfulness and awareness to our own reactions, and with patience and practice, we just learn to let them go, if that makes sense.
So tell me about this research. So are you researching how we would kind of let go of this critical voice? And also, I'd love to learn about your vision for mindful eating. So I have two questions.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do in my research, I'm measuring the effectiveness of a protocol that integrates CBT, inner wisdom, and other elements of mindful eating compared to a standard cognitive behavioral treatment for binge eating. So I'm still working on it because obviously I need bigger numbers, like a big number of patients, so to demonstrate, a good size effect, as they say in research, so something that makes sense statistically. Most importantly, as we are here, and I know there are so many people connected, I would like to share my hopes, both for the UK. So there isn't enough research around eating, and I would love to have some people from the UK to support me, not just for CBT, but also to replicate some of the results that from the mindful eating research that come from the US. So there is very little in UK. So please, UK researchers, do come to us. And also, as a board member, in collaboration with Dr. Clementi, who is also another board member representing Italy, we really love to have more researchers on board involved with us, and so there is a research page on the website. We have just updated all the research articles, and they will be online very soon. So we have the latest things until research papers until January 2016. So please do go and have a look.
So Cinzia, what I'm hearing you say is that mindful eating is based in science.
Of course.
So it's evidence-based.
I mean, the science. I have to say the science is growing. The evidence base is growing. We need more research just to make sure that what we're doing is really sounded. Because from clinical experience, we all know that mindful eating is effective, but ideally more randomized controlled trials will be a great way to make the research more sounded, if you want. So to achieve that, may I add a couple of things?
Sure.
I would love to have a research network. So using TCME as a way to collect the interest around the world. So a research network would be wonderful. And in my wildest dreams, it would be lovely to have a mindful eating day like this one, but for researchers. So a mindful eating research day.
Those are great goals. And I love the fact that mindful eating is evidence-based. And I'm really hearing you say that with some more kind of fostering and mentoring, we can continue not only to find new researchers, to find new ways to start research, but also to collaborate across the globe to bring the research of mindful eating. So what is effective in India, what's effective in Brazil, what's effective in Mexico, and bring all this research together so we can learn from each other.
That would be wonderful.
It would be. What a great vision. I absolutely positively love it. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a little bit later there in the UK than it is here in the US. And I wanted to thank you so much for coming. I want to explain to everybody, I'm very new. By trade, I'm not a host. And I'm a little new to Google and this platform that we're using. So I have this little email on the side asking me to just let you guys know that our next recording is a video, and so you're going to actually watch a pre-recorded video, and the presenter's name is Kuka, and her last name is Azinovic, and it's not a Spanish last name, and I kind of killed it, but I apologize. So I just want to let you guys know we're going to be leaving the UK. We're going to thank Cinzia, Dr. Pezzoli, for presenting, and we're going to turn it over to watch a video of Kuka. And again, I may fumble this a little bit, but I apologize. Thank you so much, Cinzia, for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody. Bye. Ciao.
So Ulf Dunberg talked about getting kids in, teaching them mindful eating. And I know when you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your passion, what brings you to mindful eating, and how does that relate back to Ulf's comment about getting kids involved in mindful eating as well? Because I think that your story is really interesting and appropriate, and I'd love for you to share it with everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I want to quickly share my story. It was actually through the TCME that I discovered this path. I'm a pediatrician, and I was still taking my master's in pediatric nutrition, and I had all these questions about how to really motivate children and their families. I always had this understanding that in the management of children with obesity, overweight, or eating issues, the family had to be a part of it. So I was kind of looking for a way to make it possible, because making a menu and giving it to the children and then pretending that that was enough, I didn't think that would work. We needed to make it available for them, but also for the parents, so that they could also realize that it is because in a lot of the times the parents' behaviors that the children are having issues with eating. So searching here and there, family eating, emotional eating, I found the TCME website. And that brought me to mindful eating, specifically to the training with Jan Chosen-Base and Charles Wilkins. And for me, that was a after and before, like a before and after point. And then in this training, knowing that Jan is a pediatrician as well, I felt so much connection. It made all sense. The importance of learning mindful eating since you're little. And actually, I think that more than teaching the kids for me particularly, I think they're already very mindful, very connected. But it is working with the parents. And for me, mindful eating is a way for us, the grown-ups, to get connected again to that inner wisdom that Cinzia was talking about. So if I am the mother and I understand that I am more than my thoughts and then my emotions, and that thoughts and emotions impact on my behaviors, I think I'm going to be in a different place, in a place in which I'm going to remember how it was when I was a young kid, a young child, and then I can relate with my own children. And I do think that trying to teach mindful eating with kids, on the other hand, is also possible. Not so much to teach them, as I said before, but to help them stay connected. Because I think it is because of us, the grown-ups, that children start to get disconnected. So mindful eating represents, for me personally, a great tool, both for working with the parents and for working with the children. And the reason I think I came to this path is because of my own story. When I was a little kid, I was at first very skinny, and my mom was always worried about me being very skinny. And then she gave me all these vitamins and took me to the doctor, and I was continuously taken to the laboratory. She was so scared that I was anemic. And then what happened? I started to gain weight, and then I became an obese child. So mindful eating for me represented a healing tool. When I came to this path, I myself had a problem with eating from all my life, as I said before. And it was through understanding me, accepting me, reconnecting with my own wisdom and my satiety and hunger cues that this became, for me, a solution. I'm completely sure that it works. And as Cinzia said before, we need research to make it sound. But now that turned my profession. Like, I decided to put pediatrics, like general pediatrics, aside and start working with helping overweight and obese children and their families.
That's an amazing story. I mean, it's just so powerful. So tell us, how do you do that work? You know, when you work with these kids, for those of you who can't see, Dr. Vega has a website, and she does some great tools, and you have a lot of resources available both in English and in Spanish, which is wonderful. So how do you reach out to these kids? How do you do this mindful eating with them?
So, well, when kids are brought by their parents, because that's usually what happens, I first, take the history, like I hear what is the problem and all that, and I do nutrition assessments. So I teach kids and their moms to, like, about food groups and like how to combine food, but at the same time I start making exercises about like sensing your stomach and how do you know you're hungry. And then along the different appointments or the different sessions that we have, we do some mindful eating exercises like the ones from your book. And like I use balloons, or I even use my blackboard or my painting board to draw. And I mean, as I said before, children do not need so much guidance, I don't think. They they're pretty connected. Some of them, of course, when they come with a big problem like a severe obesity or very overweight, they do show signs of anxiety, and they do show signs that they are not connected with their bodies anymore. So it is like a combination between mindful eating, nutrition assessment, and psychotherapy. That's how I do it. So some of them, when I see that there is a big problem of anxiety, I have separate sessions and we work on the emotional side of things.
Because they're using food to cope, is that kind of part of it?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why in the first session, I recovered all the data about the history. A lot of the times, unfortunately, these kids have parents that are always working, mothers that not are around. And, well, they get bored. They are sedentary, a lot of them. A lot of them are indoors all the time. And, yeah, food is medicine for the soul, for the boring moments, for the not knowing what else to do.
So when we're coping by food and it's kind of numbing us or it's entertaining us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that may be a behavior that they figured out on their own because they feel isolated or disconnected from their parents, or it may be a behavior that their parents teach them as well.
Yes, both. I think both, because a lot of what children do is what they see, right? Like they learn more from what they see than from what they hear. And yeah, so a lot of the times there's a TV in the dining room. That's one of the questions that I ask. Or they go to their own bedrooms and they have TVs there or video games, so they're eating and playing. So we talk a lot about that, and that is something that is more like on the education, on the parent side, that I talk to them, I tell them the importance. And also by doing some mindful eating exercises with the parents, they start to come back and understand, so how do I really know when I'm hungry? Or what happens to me when I'm eating but I'm distracted? Where is my mind? Where is my body, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, it's learned, and also they figure it out on their own when they're by themselves.
Now, this is a little bit off topic, but I'm sure you can bring it back. Tell us a little bit. You work with kids in yoga, so I'd like to learn more about that.
Well, I do give summer camps in which I actually love those activities. During 4 weeks, we teach the kids about not only mindful eating, but mindfulness in general, and also psychoeducation. Like they start talking about their emotions, what are the different emotions, how do they sense them in their bodies, what are ways to express them other than, for example, if they are angry, instead of fighting, what are other ways to express emotions. And we do a lot of mindfulness in general, so that they are aware of the interconnectedness. So we talk about the mindfulness of the environment, mindfulness of other people, like how we can communicate. And then there's yoga, because yoga for me, well, it's a meditation movement, right? So you're being present while moving, and they very quickly learn that if their minds are away, their bodies are not responding. So for me, integrating yoga is a way of integrating awareness of the body, and we need awareness of the body in order to come back to hunger and satiety. So that's why I like to use yoga as well, and it's fun.
And it's fun. And so really what I'm hearing is that in this whole process where you're talking about mindful eating, you're talking about parents, you're talking about kids, you're talking about making connections, not just knowledge, but also with our bodies, really listening, tuning in, kind of hearing with another space, almost our heart space, to say, you know, I'm really struggling. Sometimes life isn't always great. I'm really struggling. What can I do other than eating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and you know, that kind of that idea of coping in ways that are positive and benefit the body. I can really hear that as being a big part. So giving you the wish, the magic wand, and really hearing your story, which, you know, for me is just incredibly inspiring, and please tell people how they could connect with you, because I'm sure there's lots of people that would love to learn more. Kind of going in on this with this wish, what would be your wish for the Center for Mindful Eating if you could have a wish? And again, we're speaking to you from Mexico, and what would be your wish?
Well, my wish would be that this wonderful tool is available. I hear an echo, I don't know. Is that this wonderful tool is available to more and more people, starting since we're very little, like kids, and understanding that this tool is a way to diminish the suffering around eating. So my wish would be that it can go international, that we, the people that are in Mexico or in other parts of Latin America, Spain, can access this, because so far there is more about this, but in English. So we are lacking the tools yet, but we're working on that. And that one thing I do want to say, when working with kids, and all this problem with obesity and disorder eating, that for me is very important, is that when we address this with our children, that we first tell them that there's nothing wrong with them. That by changing our behaviors around eating, we are not trying to say that there's something wrong with them that we have to change. That it is because out of love, because we love them and because they need to love themselves, that they can learn a different way to relate with food. That for me is very important, and I didn't want to go without saying that. I mean, working with little souls is very important, that we tell them that there's nothing wrong with them and that we're just there to support them. So my wish would be that more and more people, more and more professionals, more and more mothers and parents can know how this wonderful tool called mindful eating and mindfulness can help us to diminish our suffering.
Oh, so well said. And I love that part about, really helping these kids recognize that we start and we have a great body. And just because we are, in this place where we feel like I want to change, it doesn't mean that we're broken. It doesn't mean that we're wrong. And we all change. Even when we are at our, where we're at that place, whatever that place is, we're always going to change. You're never going to stay the same. So even if I, when I turn around and I say, Migrit, I love you, or Claudia, I love you, you're great, you're perfect, just the way you are, which is true, you're still going to change. You're still going to grow, and you're still going to change, and you're still going to learn things. And that piece, I think, is part of it, is that the change process, mindfulness to me, is really just embracing how incredibly impermanent life is. It's always changing. And we think to ourselves, when I get to this place, it won't change. And it's wrong. And that, as a parent, I used to joke, I used to say, okay, now I know what my daughter likes for dinner. And then I'd say, okay, she likes grilled cheese sandwiches. And the next week she'd say, oh, I don't like grilled cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
And I'd say, what? This week she likes tacos. Next week she doesn't like tacos. I'm like, wait a second. You used to like apples. What happened? And I think kids are just really this great teacher for all parents, saying they're going to change. They're always changing. They're constantly changing. Their food, their eating, their likes, their preference, their mind, they're always learning. And if we see them as absolutely, positively 100% great now, and we recognize that in their greatness and their wonderfulness, they're still going to change, and that is part of the process, and that embracing that change and just turning around and honoring them for who they are now, and really, just giving them those tools to say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm lonely, giving them the tools so as they keep changing, they have that great solid foundation.
Yeah, and you know what? Right there are two big lessons that I think can come from what you just said. One is that it could be when they are, in those spaces in which they just like one food, and then they hate it, right? It could be their bodies like just adjusting to what they really need. They have these phases, and sometimes if we are not aware, we want to change them. And the other thing is that if we, the parents, do not let them be who they are and do not show our respect for who they are and that we trust them, then it is going to be difficult for them to trust themselves. So accompanying them means also letting them be, trusting the process, trusting mindful eating, trusting mindfulness, and, as you said, remembering the impermanence of things. Things are always evolving and changing, and it is okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know that that ending note is going to be a great introduction for Marsha Hudnall, who is the president and director of Green Mountain at Fox Run. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, my friend, my talent. Yay!
And I did unmute myself, so we shouldn't have that problem.
Wonderful. So I want to welcome you so much, and I apologize for this technical difficulty that we're having. You know, technology is one of those things. You can practice it 10 times, it works perfectly, and then you do the live where you've got all these people watching and not so much. So,
well, I just feel bad for you, Migrat, because I know all the effort that you and Michelle put into this, and but it's been wonderful so far. You've done a tremendous job, and I'm sure we'll be able to get some of this that we weren't able to get out to everyone
we
to
will
them later. So.
And thank you for mentioning that. Actually, we're going to be offering those recorded programs at the end of the session, so that was really helpful. So you heard Claudia talk about this trust, and I know that that's a big thing for you. So please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about your passion around mindful eating, which I think is over 30 years in duration. So
in duration, definitely. Well, as you said, I'm the president and co-owner of Green Mountain at Fox Run, and we are a women's retreat in Vermont that was founded over 40 years ago by my mother-in-law, who was a registered dietitian who believed that diets were going to create more problems for people than they solved. And she began the program based on the concept of conscious eating. And it really, evolved this was in the early 1970s, and I think we had John Kabat-Zinn come up and speak to us in the 80s, and we started using the term mindful eating then because it was very much what we were doing. It was just really trying to help women understand that they really do have the power to make their own choices around food and eating in order to support themselves and live their best lives. So we've been doing mindful eating in terms of most of the women who come to us have struggled with diets on and off for years and have lots of body image problems and stress eating. I mean, a lot of the speakers that we've heard today have talked about all the issues that we work with in women too. So and mindful eating is really just foundational to it all because it does come back to, as you said, that trust in your body that you are fully capable of making the decisions about what is best for you. And it requires connectedness, it requires trust, it requires supporting your body also. And so we teach that also about how you do make intelligent choices about satisfying your needs and your wants. There's so much misinformation out there and confusion that unfortunately there does need to be a little bit of clearing up some of that confusion sometime.
I definitely find that in my own practice. Now, I'm a dietitian, and your background also is as a dietitian as well, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So kind of bringing that background together, we had talked with Dr. Pezzoli earlier about how, she said mindful eating is evidence-based, and I'm really hearing you say, again, there's a lot of misinformation around food and eating, and that misinformation is creating a distrust, or is it larger than that?
Well, I actually think it all starts with the whole diet culture of that we all need to be a certain size, and so we get these advice, largely in the past it was through diet information, diet books and these sorts of things, weight loss diet books, that tells us what we're supposed to be doing, and it just doesn't fit for most of us. So it maybe in a way it is larger than that, but it's not larger than that either. It really just comes back to being informed and having faith that you're the expert in your own body, and really trying to make your best choice in the moment. And the interesting thing there, I think, is not buying into definitions of best, because very often they'll be, well, it's the good foods, you know. Sometimes your best choice is that hot fudge sundae, or you know, I always say, you know, if you go to a birthday party and everybody else is eating cake and you're eating an apple, is that apple really a healthy choice for you? And the question, I mean, the answer is it's only is if that's what you really want. Otherwise, it's going to set up all kinds of psychological dynamics that are going to work against you. So, you know, it really is about being clear that, you know, food is a very neutral type of thing, and you're the one that's making the decision about how it's going to affect you in the moment. And you know, that leads me in, Migrat, to some of what we've been doing on TCME, because I am a board member of the Center for Mindful Eating, and we have developed, as you well know, these position statements over the past year that specifically are intended to help clear up some of the confusion on issues surrounding mindful eating. And one of those is healthy eating. We came up with a position statement, and you can find it on tcme.org, that really talks about food being very neutral, and that there isn't a good and bad. I should look it up and read it. That might help. Can't remember it at the moment. Maybe you do. Do you remember more about what we said?
What I do remember is the newest issue of Food for Thought came up, and it really talks about controversy. So I think that you're really kind of bringing forward all of these questions and controversies, and again, kind of going back to, if mindfulness is the foundation piece, what is healthy eating, you're saying, is a foundation piece. We really have to get clear what is healthy, and it's not weight defined.
Right.
That health is based on a very complex process that really starts with the individual, and it's not a simplistic equation that is just a number on a scale. It is a complex equation that's dynamic, always changing, moving, and it's based in lots of different wants, needs, and, you know, our current space. There was a time in my life where I could devote hours to cycling, and then I got busy and got a mortgage and did all those, you know, great things, and that space has left me. So does that mean that I'm unhealthy because I can't exercise to that level? You know, we heard about Cinzia, who was a professional athlete, and we recognize that opportunities in our lives, they come and they go, and we can't fixate on a definition, on a static definition of health. That's too simplistic.
Right.
What are some of the other controversies that you hear? And at Green Mountain, I'm sure you hear all of them all the time. What are some ones that you want to let us know about that you think mindful eating could help resolve?
Well, the one that I really love is the one that the Food for Thought, this current issue of Food for Thought, focused on, and it is weight, you know, and is mindful eating effective when it comes to helping people manage their weight? And as our other speakers have talked about, we've got more and more research that is pointing to the role of mindful eating and really ending weight struggles and letting people naturally gravitate, along with other health supportive behaviors, naturally gravitate to their healthy weight. Which brings up a whole lot of issues. You know, number one, what is a healthy weight? It's not what a lot of people have been led to believe, that you can put on a weight chart or a body mass index and say, okay, you're this height and you're this age. No, what is it? Height and weight. Well, if you're this height, you're supposed to weigh in this range. You know, that just doesn't work. So looking at things like that. But what it really comes down to, that issue of food for thought really is about this idea of intentional weight loss versus really living in a way that lets your body find its natural balance point. And that's what mindful eating does. It really supports you in taking care of yourself, and not worrying about all these things around food and eating and when I'm supposed to eat and what I'm supposed to eat and how much I'm supposed to eat and all those sorts of things that are really very internally directed if you know how to listen and respond intelligently. So that's the biggest controversy I see is this idea between if you want to be at a healthy weight, you need to be really chasing after it. You need to be watching really carefully what you do, whereas mindful eating offers a way to enjoy your life while you are living healthfully. And to me, there's just no question. It's a very pleasant journey as opposed to counting calories and being worried if I can eat that piece of cake or whatever else comes along my way.
It's relaxed.
It is very relaxed.
Yes, and I imagine going to Green Mountain would also be pretty relaxing as well. So a different kind of experience as well. So kind of, again, it seems like you just did a great job really talking about how we can celebrate food and eating, we can connect to the joy of eating again, and how mindful eating is part of that, using all of our senses to really enjoy food again. And it's interesting how, though not directly you said it, you've really implied, once you get filled up with the joy of eating, once you turn and you say, I had some bites, I really enjoyed that, you turn and you say, I've had enough, I don't need any more. Mm-hmm. There's no need to keep eating. The compulsion is over.
Right.
And
absolutely.
As a dietitian, I really connect with that a lot. Because for myself, I eat sweets as a dietitian, and people say, but you're not, how can you do that? And I say, well, they're part of life. They're part of our joy. And we have lots of foods and flavors and things that we eat that may not always be, like you say, healthy. I'll put those in quotes. But they're seasonal. They're appropriate to the occasion. They're cultural. I mean, I have people, and so many times I hear them say, I didn't feel like I could participate in this celebration or that life, and that makes me sad. And I'm hearing you express some loss for them, some sadness for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll just end by saying one of my favorite sayings is that food is one of the greatest pleasures of life. And pleasure is good medicine. So it's putting it together and enjoying it in a way that truly makes you feel well, and mindful eating really helps you do that.